Hey everybody, Alex Kazora, SteelersDepot.com, back with some more Pittsburgh Steelers tape breakdown and analysis. The Pittsburgh Steelers run defense woes continue, picking up in 2025, where the team left off in 2024, allowing a $183 to the Jets on Sunday. So what went wrong? Let's talk about it. Before we start, if you guys could like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the site. SteelersDepot.com would really appreciate that. So I think you can distill the run game woes into two buckets from this Jets games. There's the execution and just the overall individual foundational issues, and then some schematic problems as well. We'll talk about both. We'll start with the individual players just not making plays, not doing their jobs. And this is from the very first snap of the game, 18-yard run by Breece Hall. His long of the day, the zone run to the left, and the Jets made most of their hay running away from TJ Watt. And we see here Pittsburgh in their base Okie front and Keanu Benton getting pushed off here on the ground. You can't have these guys off their feet. These linebackers and have to work harder to stay clean. We see the combo here from the right guard really knock Benton off his feet here into Cam. They get this pile up. Then Benton tries to make the tackle, ends up tackling Patrick Queen here. Just a messy play. Got to stay on your feet down the track here for Keanu Benton. I have some other thoughts on Benton overall. I know there's a long discussion about should he be a nose tackle, what is his role, and there's some nuance and I think some good discussion to be had. I don't like him being at least head up. I think he can still be successful as a shade, where he's playing a field a bit more, utilizing his strengths, his explosiveness, his hips, his flexibility, trying to play head up like this. Pittsburgh played a lot of their base defense in this game because of the Jets' style. So typically they're a nickel where he's playing more of that shade than this head up nose tackle with these two 4-eye defensive ends, Cam Hayward, Isaiah Loudermilk. So I'm kind of just rambling talking about Benton because I know that's so much of the discussion. It probably can be a little overstated because it's a team issue. Run defense is an 11-man job, but overall, that's just a really bad rep. I mean, there's just no getting around that for Keanu Benton. This is one of those frustrating plays that should have been a loss and ends up being a decent gain, or at least a couple-yard gain for New York. Darius Slay off the edge, unable to finish. Should he make the tackle here? He should, but he does a nice job overall. It's a bigger back in Breece Hall. There's got to be more of a rally. There's got to be guys getting off of blocks and really making sure that Hall's not turning nothing into something. You just have everyone around him, and this play ends up going for a couple yards. This needs to be a couple-yard loss. And what's the down and distance here? Was this 1st and 10? I think it was. Let's double check here. Yeah, 1st and 10. This should be, 2nd and 12. And Pittsburgh did not knock the Jets off schedule. They stayed on schedule. They were in rhythm. They were successful on first down. They had the second best yards per play on first down of the entire NFL, at least entering week 1. I don't think the Bears or the Vikings surpassed it based on my eye test last night. But yeah, this should be a loss. And the fact that no one's getting off a block, nobody is really rallying hard to the football here, turns what should be, potentially a 4 or 5 yard loss. It's just, there's guys around, but no one's off a block, and just no one's able to make this play. Ends up being a 2-yard gain. And that's a 6-7 yard swing right there. And that just cannot be. Story of the game, Jets stayed on schedule. They were in manageable situations. Pittsburgh was not. Steelers still found a way to come out with a victory, but these type of plays, that's just not acceptable. Pittsburgh did sometimes have the answers to the test. The quarterback mobility, the zone read threat. Justin Fields certainly played a factor, but in this situation, you have Fields keeping the ball despite Watt basically staying outside to contain it. And this really should probably be a give here to the back. Fields keeps it. You have Watt, you have Porter, and neither of them can contain, and Fields gains the corner and picks up 15 yards. Can't have that here. If you're going to contain Justin Fields and play that technique, there's a variety of things Pittsburgh did to combat that. It's not just one thing. They had mesh charge, they were slanting and scraping, they were surfing, they were playing different techniques, but you're containing it here and still allowing Fields to get to the outside, and that's just unacceptable on Pittsburgh's part. So you had the right scheme in terms of preventing Fields from being a threat, just could not execute neither of these guys. You're getting another big run for New York. Really ugly rep here on the Braylon Allen touchdown. Pittsburgh just getting bullied. The Jets imposed their will on Pittsburgh the entire game. Nobody's off a block, getting pushed off the ball. I mean, this is just really, really ugly tape here for Pittsburgh. And they spent the entire offseason saying we got to get bigger and stronger and more physical. They invested as such in the draft, even in free agency. I know Derek Harmon did not play in this game, but just overall, you got Benton pushed around again on the ground. Black can't get off a block. Queen is swallowed up. Wilson is swallowed up too. I mean, this plays at the 8, and Braylon Allen, who's a big power back from Wisconsin, does not get touched until about the 3-yard line. So we get 5 yards before contact on the goal line for a downhill, big physical runner. You're not stopping that train once he gets rolling. So this is just really ugly tape that might be one of the worst reps of the game for Pittsburgh, because they just got bullied on this play, and you can't have this in this situation. Maybe the best example of Pittsburgh being stuck on blocks is this play, and I'll run it through. And these things don't need a lot of commentary for the individual because it's often self-evident, just nobody getting off a block. And so there's nothing schematic here. There's nothing, as Tomlin would say, mystical and magical about it. And it's the same people, but it's a collective. Benton is obviously one part of this problem. In the middle, again, he is head up. That's not wherever he's playing his best football. You know, Queen, the lineman's able to climb to him, and Queen can't get off the block. Nobody's off a block here. And Hall's just picking the lane, finding the hole. You know, I think Hayward's okay here, probably 2-gapping, but still unable to shed the block here. I mean, everyone's just still attached. You get the idea. The safety's free, but Hall's going to go the other way on this one and gets a nice run out of it. So if you're not getting off of blocks, it doesn't really matter your scheme or anything else. If you're not getting off a block, you're not making tackles. Running backs are churning forward, and you feel that on this play. So this is a really, really poor example. Now, Pittsburgh was in, I think they're 3-3-5 against 11 personnel. I believe on this play, we got Jalen Ramsey coming down, playing this inside linebacker technique. So you're missing an inside backer, but I don't care. You're not off a block. Ramsey has nothing to do with Benton or Queen or Hayward or any of those guys, and you're just not making plays. That's what more than half of this probably boils down to. This one, I feel like Pittsburgh was in potentially the right position, maybe just guys not doing their job. And, you know, run fits can be a little fluid and a little tough to know from afar, obviously, what each person's individual assignment is and, you know, who's fallen back a gap and that kind of stuff. But I'm just watching this play with Malik Harrison, who's now on IR, 4 snaps, brought in to be a bit of a thumper and useful for a game like this. He's coming down here into this B gap, but the ball goes outside of him, and I feel like that's got to be his responsibility to make sure that gap is closed up here between left tackle Fashanu and left guard the Simpsons. So Harrison attacks it, but then he's swallowed up. He can't get off. Yeah, is he held here? You know, you can call holding on every single play. The lineman's hands are inside. I don't really see an obvious hold here in terms of what's going to get called. But I think overall guys doing their jobs. Highsmith responsible for the C gap, edge contain here. I don't know if maybe the corner's supposed to fill, but, you know, Harrison is not able to get off this block here. This B gap is wide open for Hall, and this one probably could have been an even longer run. Secondary at least tackled well in this game, which is a small silver lining to not allow these Jets runs for going anything longer than 18 yards. But yeah, just getting gashed. And I feel like Pittsburgh, you know, overall not in terrible position. Patrick Queen, kind of watching him. Let me go back and watch Queen here on this rep. See what his eyes are doing on this play. Yeah, I think trying to find the ball. And if he's falling back a gap here, you know, he's not able to track the ball. So probably a couple things going on here. But, you know, Harrison didn't think he had good aggression. But in terms of filling that gap, really playing that role, I didn't see it on this rep. This last example of some of the individual issues, and listen, there's no question facing a mobile quarterback, an RPO-heavy offense like New York is difficult. It presents a lot of challenges here, and it really asks some of these guys to be put in conflict and make some tough plays. So look at the aerial view here, the sideline view, and we're going to see this light box for Pittsburgh. We're going to see these guys get pulled out of the box. Jets here in their pony, 2-back backfield, so the RPO game's a threat here. And really what this comes down to, Queen, I know it looks like he's in the wrong here, but he's responsible for Fields, for him keeping the ball. This is an example, like I mentioned earlier, of the slant scrape technique you can play as one way to combat the read option game, where there is no correct answer, where Watt's going to come down every single time and slant. He's going to take the give on the back, and Queen's going to scrape over the top of him. He's responsible for the quarterback keep. So in theory, no matter what the quarterback does, keep or give, he's going to be wrong. You're going to have it covered. You're taking away the read element of the read option, but you got to do your job. And Watt here, as good as he is, I think he played well against the run, unable to make that tackle on the backside. And otherwise, you're light box here. I mean, you got, the safeties are too high. You got Queen responsible, so he's not fitting the run here. You got 4 people here against the 5 offensive linemen, and so you're really outnumbered. You're counting on Watt to be able to make that play to crash down and make this tackle from the backside, because otherwise you're just getting, and you got to get up blocks, but the Jets are in an advantageous situation here. They have numbers, and so Watt has to make this play. He can't, and then you see the lineman climb here to Peyton Wilson. I put less fault here on the front. It's really, I think, more on TJ Watt. A tough play, but a play he's got to be able to make, just given what their responsibilities are, what Pittsburgh's trying to do on this play. So I don't think it's a schematic issue. It's just one of those where, can your backside guy make the play? Can he chase it down in time? He couldn't, and this one busts off for another good run by Breece Hall. Now for some schematic issues where I think things got funny, and this may be more miscommunication than it was true bad game planning, but no matter how you slice it, I think Pittsburgh had a position in a couple of ways. And again, run fits can be hard to know from my couch, from mom's basement, but watching Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay here both having outside contain, and who's supposed to prevent this cutback, and who's supposed to have this ball bounce outside. You got Ramsey, you got Slay to the outside, and I feel like somebody there, probably Ramsey, has to be more inside here, the receiver, to fill that lane so the back can't cut up. So, who's exactly to blame here? Hard to say. I would guess Ramsey, but you just have a gap unaccounted for. I think everything else is good on this play. Highsmith, overall, the left tackle hooks him, but, if Ramsey can fill that gap, there's nowhere to go. The corner would have outside contain. You're filling the alley here. There's no one here in the alley until Thornhill comes on down, and I don't think Thornhill, did he have direct alley responsibility? Hard to think so with Ramsey playing down here in the box, but you just have a gap here. You got a gap between left tackle and the receiver. That's a big lane there, and Hall finds it. This play, fortunately, did not result in a big run, just 3 yards, but it just kind of is emblematic of Pittsburgh feeling a little out of sorts in how to defend the quarterback run game. Maybe Pittsburgh, even though they saw Fields last year, new year, new pieces, just getting reacquainted with that element after, having Aaron Rodgers and Mason Rudolph all summer. You're not looking at that. You're not seeing that look. But watch, you got 3 guys here basically responsible for Fields keeping the ball, for him bouncing this run wide. You got Watt, watching. He's outside here. Queen doing like we saw before here, over the top, and Y.A. Black even stepping outside the tackle instead of slanting down into the B gap. So I got 3 guys here responsible for Fields if he keeps it. Who was responsible for the give on this play? And I don't know really what happened on this one. I feel like somebody missed an assignment. Either Watt has to come down, Black probably has to step down. 2, I think Queen's okay here. He's probably responsible for the keep and for Justin Fields, but I got 3 guys doing basically one man's job. And then again, you're in a numbers disadvantage. You got these one-on-one blocks, and offenses are going to have success if they're going to continue to be even or plus in the box count. So just stuff like that. Week 1, you can maybe chalk it up to that a little bit, but it's got to get cleaned up. Another run that didn't go for a lot of yards, but just helped the Jets stay on schedule and avoid those tackles for losses. You're getting the motion man here. You're worried about the RPO game. Highsmith is held because of that, so there is no crash. There is no backside contain. Highsmith is functionally blocked, not by a blocker, just by the motion itself and the threat of an RPO or maybe a keep by Justin Fields. And so that just helps take him out of the equation and put the other blockers for the Jets elsewhere, and that really gives them an advantage. Now, nice job by Cam Hayward here to get off this block, but it's still a decent run on 2nd and 10 that puts you into more 3rd and manageable. So watching it from the sideline view, we're going to see the motion here by the receiver come across, and that holds and freezes to an extent Alex Highsmith. So does, of course, the threat of Fields keeping it. And so just removing, displacing that guy from being able to impact the run, from being able to crash down, from having to block him. And that just frees up the Jets to go block somebody else. And so that's kind of the layman's terms of this play and help keep the Jets on schedule throughout the game. The increase of mobile quarterbacks and the RPO game is really being able to change the rules of how you block defenders. You don't have to actually get a hat on defenders anymore to block them. You can do it in different ways, especially for teams who don't have great blocking tight ends. The Jets have a rookie in Mason Smith, the man in motion here. This RPO threat can basically take care and account for those defenders without ever having to actually block them and be able to stick and drive. And we're seeing that slant flat combination here. And we're getting also that boot action from Justin Fields, and that basically takes away TJ Watt and the safety Chuck Clark from being part of the run fit. Clark is now having to chase the flat because this might be an RPO, and if he doesn't respect that, then it's wide open, going to be a big play. And Watt has to respect the boot possibility of Justin Fields. So now 2 of Pittsburgh's 11 potential run defenders are taken care of. Now the Jets don't have run blockers here either, but that's a trade-off the Jets will take. We'll gladly have our tight end pull the safety out instead of trying to block this guy and just create more space for our running back. Creates a huge cutback lane for Breece Hall, who finds it, puts his foot in the ground. It's a big run. So we're holding these backside players. Clark by the motion, by the flat route of Taylor. Watt by the boot threat of Fields. And if you don't respect that, then eventually they're going to hit it. If Pittsburgh's consistently crashing down, then eventually the Jets are going to call that boot and get Fields out there in space, and it'll be a big play that way. So, how do you combat that? I'm sure there's things you can talk about there, but the Jets certainly had some advantages in this game, and Pittsburgh struggled to, be ahead of that chess match for sure. So hopefully this cleared up some of the issues. A lot individual, a little bit schematic, which is probably also in the miscommunication bucket, but the Jets certainly stressed Pittsburgh, facing a less mobile quarterback in Sam Darnold this weekend. The Seahawks do have Jalen Milroe, but he only played one snap, more of a package play kind of a guy. You would think and hope and expect Pittsburgh's run defense to be much better. It needs to be. If it's not, and I think big alarm bells go off. But of course, even if you have success against Seattle, you're facing mobile quarterbacks this year. Lamar Jackson twice, you're seeing Josh Allen, etc. So it's not all solved. Quarterback mobility is, of course, here to stay. But those are some thoughts on Pittsburgh's run defense, and I got some people asking to make a video on that, and I certainly was interested myself to figure out what went wrong. But week 1, we'll see how things go as Pittsburgh grows, learns more about themselves, and learns more about their opponents. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, check out the site, SteelersDepot.com. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.